are back with another episode. We have a special guest in the building tonight, Logan Hullette. Excited to get to know his story, hear a little bit more about him on and off the baseball field, and kind of just dive into his story as a whole. Very excited for this one. Gannon lined this up. Gannon's in contact with Logan, being down in Florida. Has had the opportunity to work with him, get to know him. Very excited for this one, Gannon. Let's take this one away.
Yeah, first off, man, Logan, shout out you being on. This is one of the closest dudes that I met when I got down here to Florida. We're both in the sports management department here. He's a little bit older. We'll get into some of that with his playing experience and just the different schools and different places he's been at along his journey. But kind of before we get going into this, we always ask our guests to just kind of introduce themselves, kind of who you are a little bit on and off the field before we get into some specifics.
Yeah, so my name is Logan Hullette from Kingsport, Tennessee, Northeast Tennessee, about an hour and a half from Knoxville, which is a little bit more familiar. Yeah, seven years of college baseball. That's how I met Gannon. So, I've kind of been everywhere. I went Division I, JUCO, NAI, so kind of been everywhere with it. But, catcher just kind of brought me everywhere in this baseball world, and just kind of thankful to be able to do it all. It's been a blessing, man. So I appreciate y'all having me on.
For sure. No, I know we're excited for this one to hear more about your story and just knowing your background, just Gannon sending over some notes, getting to know a little bit more about you as a ball player. The most fascinating part for me, obviously, that sticks out is the 7 years of
Right.
collegiate experience. So bouncing around to different schools, being in different areas, what would you say the number one thing you've learned about your college experience thus far, whether it be stuff that's happened on the field, stuff that's happened off the field, just your overall number one thing that stuck out to you in all of your years of playing college ball?
Man, that's a good question. Honestly, I would say just being everywhere, like at all three different levels, man. The relationships you make and the teammates you meet, it's awesome, man. They bring from different backgrounds and just the commonality that baseball brings, the people it brings together. It's unlike any other sport, in my opinion. Anywhere to different countries and just, I'm a little Northeast Tennessee kid that's around anywhere, people from different countries. So it's been awesome. But yeah, that's what I would say. Just the teammates, the camaraderie, just the different people you meet, the relationships you build. Like these are people you're going to have in your wedding. And, it's pretty awesome, man.
Yeah,
that might be the best answer I've
Yeah.
heard, on a question when it comes to college sports. So that was awesome.
I wanted to go back home, just to a place that felt familiar and was right at home, get that support, and just having two senior season enders already just kind of changed my perspective on things. I was at the Division I level, but it just wasn't everything, I guess, in a way. So I chose Logan University, small town like near Johnson City, Tennessee, but it's right in my backyard. I was able to live at home, but ironically enough, I get there in the fall. Things are going great. And I go to make a throw one day to second, and I tear my UCL, and so from then on, the whole how the process kind of works with Tommy John. I see a bunch of different doctors because in Northeast Tennessee, there's not really like great specialists, I guess, in a way, for that type of injury. So I had to go through quite a few different doctors. Finally found one. He had a baseball history, but turns out I had a complete reconstruction of UCL. Also had the nerve damage as well. So they relocated the nerve. It's like ulnar nerve entrapment, so it just causes a lot of compression on the nerve. So a lot of tingling in your fingers, just pain, everything you deal with. So how the rehab process and TJ, different guys are different. It can be 9 to 16 months. For me, I was cleared quick. Like that next year, I came back to hit in 4 months, similar to like what Bryce Harper did. Ironically, it probably wasn't the greatest decision, but I wanted to be there. Like I wanted to be out there. I had so many season enders and COVID. Like that was 3 years straight of just having something happen. So I decided to make it work in 4 months. I would DH, pinch hit, some stuff. I hadn't even started throwing my throwing program yet, but it was just like, all right, I want to do it for my guys. And I think what happened too that year, having professional interest already, it's just like there's a spark there. It was either quit or it was like just let's play and let's try to see what happens. Because so many season enders, you're like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. The rehab process is grueling, but kind of going back to recovery. So 9 to 16 months, I go through most of the season, kind of just pinch hit and DHing, but doesn't really, kind of works out, kind of doesn't, having some trouble. But so I just get to the summer, I'm like, all right, let's just focus on the recovery process, the throwing program. Things are going great. I get cleared at 9 months. Fast forward to the fall that next year, 2022 at Milligan, I go to make a throw in an inter squad, had pop again. Turns out to be my nerve again, and luckily it wasn't TJ completely again, but it's the nerve. So they're relocating the ulnar nerve twice. They put in an artificial groove when they do that, and they kind of tie it back in. So that's 2 times right there. So my whole entire like last few months lead up to that season, I'm recovering. So I'm rehabbing until opening day that year of whatever it was, February 1st, whatever it may be. But it's just, that's 2 years almost a straight recovery. And then last year I did have, probably my career year. Things went great, but even then my arm, I was dealing with a lot of things just to get back to that where I wanted to be. Things worked out, but definitely it's a long process. But yeah, that's kind of how. So all that led to me being in 7 years and having the years. But even with that, after the year last year, I had professional interest, offers, contracts, everything. I was actually going to sign, and then, but throughout the year, a grueling injury, just minor thing, catching, have an ulnar nerve problem in my wrist on the left side. So the nerve come up again, but it happened on the other side. But so that's kind of why I ended up back in college at Keiser University, and that's how I met Ruck. So.
Man,
Yes,
Gannon.
sir.
So Gannon has talked to me about the injury history, and obviously in our notes in preparation for this episode. But wow, like genuinely hearing you describe it out loud, like first off, I'm blown away just because of the thing that hits me. Like the first word that hits me when you're explaining all of that is obviously resilience.
Right.
The ability to continue to bounce back, the ability to continue to rehab. I know you kind of answered it a little bit in that in answering that past question, but what keeps you wanting to be on the baseball field? I mean, I know we all have a game that we love and we dive into it and we just can't get away from it. It's addicting. We're obsessed with it. But to go through that many injuries and still step out on a baseball field, one, it says everything about your love for the game. And two, it also says a ton about the appreciation and love you have for your teammates. So kind of just talk about that, the ability to keep coming back.
Yeah, man, I think it's a good question. I get it a lot, being in school for so long. But honestly, I think the biggest thing for me is that I didn't want to disappoint my childhood, like in who I was as a child. My dreams and my goals have always been to play professional baseball, and I think I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't try and do it. I mean, that's the thing with my injuries is I never really had a year where progression fell off in a way, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like I
Yeah.
didn't, I kept getting better even through it. So it was hard for me just to give it up, because I had those times where I wanted to, but it was just my childhood self. Like, I don't want to disappoint him. And I think when I have kids later on in life, that's one of the greatest thing I'll be able to say is like, I didn't give up until like I had to in a way. But I think too, just for life, the adversity, man, it changed my perspective on life. It prepared me for life. It prepared me for anything that comes my way. I think catching position does that too, but that's what adversity just it's a different thing. If you look at it the right way, it can change your life for the better.
I think that's really just leads me into my next question. Like, if anybody knows anything about baseball, let alone Tommy John and the recovery process, it's a lot of alone time and a lot of one-on-one time. Obviously, I had something different, but that's kind of how our stories, I think, really connected when last in the fall when we met, kind of talking about my injury stuff, and then you threw your injury stuff together. It was just something that we could kind of bond with in a way. But I know that's something why I feel like we're more mature than people our age is the stuff we've gone through on the field just through those injuries and still keeping a smile on our face and being that type of guy. But I just want you to dive into that recovery time and that alone feeling and like that. It's you against the world. Like just it's really negative thoughts and it's a tough place to be in. Just for athletes who have gone through it, maybe are hurt right now. Anybody tuning in right now, I really like to hear this.
Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing for me was to know you're not alone and having that support system that's there for you every day. Um, my parents and just my friends, my family, my girlfriend, they did a lot for me in that process because you lean on them a lot because that's 4 months of not even throwing a ball and that's all you know your whole life. And when you come back, like you feel like you're a newborn trying to throw again. Like you got to relearn how to throw. And I just think, that support system and just it just really truly for me and like when I talk to a lot of my guys that I know and that have had it, like you either find out if you really love the game or not. And I think for me it magnified that and I just had to really just dive in and go full head in steam and just see what happens. And I think that's just what it does for you. I think it's a blessing in disguise in a way if you look at it that way. And yeah, I think just for guys that need some support with it, just know you're not alone. Reach out to guys like me myself. Reach out to me. I've been there, done that. that's why I did a whole entire research topic on it, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
passionate about that and just about the motivation that can bring you back. And it's not a negative thing if you don't look at it that way.
No, that's it's powerful, man. Like just the way you can speak on it and your understanding of adversity, your understanding of being resilient, your understanding of being able to bounce back continuously. It's huge. But I want to ask you this question because I was a JUCO guy. I played 2 years of JUCO baseball. You being at Walter State, winning the 2020 Teammate of the Year award, and also being named team captain. Just talk about your general JUCO experience. I know bouncing around, obviously, with the injuries throughout college, but what is
High
JUCO?
level ball he was at, dude.
100%. Talk about your experience with JUCO ball. It's always something that it's just a unique perspective, man, when it comes to JUCO ball and
Yeah, yeah.
what it prepares you for.
Yeah, I think that's why I kind of tell a lot of people is when I give a lot of advice to kids if where they want to go, JUCO prepares you for everything. I think, I know with rugby and at CMU, it's kind of in a way the same, but JUCO just when I was at Division One at Radford, this is the easy way to put it, I missed junior college. Like I did.
Hmm.
The grind and the camaraderie you build with your teammates is unlike anything else you can do anywhere else. Like you're with them 24/7. There's no rules. You're practicing all day in. I mean, you're in the weight room. You're everything. Like I had guys that I played with, like the Joyce brothers, Ben Joyce and Zach Joyce, and we would work out together like multiple times a week, every multiple times a day, really, and just you have that ability to get better because there's nothing else to do in junior college. Like you're going to do your studies, and all you do is baseball. You live, eat, breathe baseball, and that's kind of the difference in a lot of schools. That like Division One, you have your rules. Like NCAA requires rules. You can't be with the coaches all the time. In junior college, you can go full head of steam and do anything. So the recovery there and the ability just to train and everything's just different in junior college. And I miss it, honestly. It was the best time of my life. It was the best decision I ever made. And I really recommend anyone to go to junior college in that way because it prepares you for life. It really does.
You mentioned Ben and Zach Joyce. That was kind of something I really wanted to dive into. Being a baseball fan here, obviously Ben Joyce, 105.5, the hardest pitch ever thrown in NCAA, Tennessee guy. Somebody you work with. I just want to talk about that. Also, Spencer Strider, the MLB wins leader last year, an all-star, like an absolute dog on the mound. Just talk about some of your training, some of the different people you kind of work with over the years, and the stuff that you've learned working with just high-end talent.
Yeah, so Spencer Strider, I caught my entire junior summer leading to my senior year. So like biggest recruiting year here he is in high school. And, I was catching him on days. Man, Coastal Carolina, Clemson was there. Actually, he was between those two schools, and I caught him that day whenever he kind of decided to go to Clemson. But you think about someone like him, man, he went from 92 to 98, like back to back to back, whatever it is, weekends in a row in one summer. So like catching him was just different. Like he prepared me just to go to somewhere like Walter State and then catch arms like Ben Joyce. And it was different, man. Ben Joyce, he touched 100 at Walters, and I caught him most starts he had, and he'd be 94 to 100 in a start, and it's crazy in junior college. But the crazy thing about him, and that's why we connected so well, and his brother too, is they had arm pain their whole entire life, and these guys are throwing cheese, man, and they had Ben Joyce our COVID year threw more innings that year than he did all his whole 4 years of high school baseball. Like, and that's why he ended up at Walter State, and that's how it is. Like, so catching him was just different. He touched 100 that year, but the next year is when he went to Tennessee is when he increased his velo, and then the next year is when he was 105. But it just prepared me to be able to catch anyone and everyone because you gotta be ready for anything. So it's an amazing experience just catching guys like that and be able to train with them. Like, man, it's been great, and like that's what junior college did for me, though. It really did. Like I played with so many guys there in the professional ranks because of junior college.
Yeah, so you've had the opportunity to work with incredibly high end talent, but you've also had multiple years of experience working with younger ages, with the youth, being a presence in their lives to be able to help develop them, whether it's training, just doing lessons with them. Talk about your experience of doing lessons, being able to kind of be a rock for those younger kids and help them develop a love for a game.
Yeah, man. I wanted really why I got into it is I wanted it to be for them what I never had, if that makes sense. I never really had any lesson experience when I was younger. Like, you know, I don't mean in a bad way, but I was kind of self-taught. Like, my parents would go out and work with me every day, but we got to a certain point where my dad was like, dude, I can't teach you more. Like, this is gonna be on you and, what you're willing to do and how hard you're willing to work. And I think just I spent so much time, like the high school level, like I was a defensive guy only. Like I really didn't hit great. And I didn't learn how to hit really until I got to the college level. And I put on weight. I mean, I graduated high school 150 pounds soaking wet. And, I've been up to 205 in the college level. So it's a lot different. But I think for the kids, man, I just wanted to teach them and be able to give them something I never had. Like teach them things I learned at the age of 22. I'm 25 now, but it took me this many years to learn that if they can learn at 12 to 14, they're so much farther ahead. And in my area, Northeast Tennessee, like there's not a lot of people like that can provide them with that. And like I want to see guys be able to play at the high level from there. And I just feel like, things that I learned later on, they can learn so much earlier, and that prepares them, and they have a chance. They have a better chance in a way.
It
That's
definitely
awesome.
prepares you
Yeah.
for coaching too. Like that's
Yeah, one hundred
like
percent.
being ingrained in that community is special. Be able to work with kids.
I think that's being somebody that you never had is my exact reason why I'm here being a college baseball coach. And I think that dives me into my next question, just the similarities that we have with a lot of different things. You're a stat rat, man. Like there's no other better way to put it. It's very similar to how Bryce and I are. That's why Bryce and I have been best friends for so long. We send each other stuff all the time on social media. Logan and I have started doing that with some things like, but it's just not baseball. Like if you think just looking to this interview, listening to this, like you think you're baseball only, like college
Right.
sports, professional, NFL, like we're watching a lot of games on the weekends. It's your place. Like just talk about that love of just the sports scene and everything else. Like that's your entertainment. You don't seem to watch a lot of TV shows, movies. I'm the same exact way. Like you're watching live sports in your free time. Just talk about that.
Yeah. From the day, I mean, just kind of getting back into it, but from the day I was born, like sports were ingrained in me, and that's all I ever wanted to do. Growing up, I played everything. I played basketball, baseball, football, ran track. I kind of did it all, and like I really wanted. My parents were big on diversifying myself in that and being able to do it all. And I enjoyed basketball and football so much growing up that at one point I really kind of liked it more than baseball, but I saw my future in baseball, I guess, in a way. So I kept playing all of them, but like baseball kind of fell to that number one. But yeah, like I just grew up like loving like so I was a Virginia Tech football fan. We had season tickets for like 8 years, and
Mm-hmm.
so I just was around it all the time. So like I just fell in love with how it is. Everybody has their team, like Green Bay,
Hmm.
you with Dallas. Like I know how Ruck's told me, like you just fall in love. My uncle loves Dallas. He's that way. That's how he is. Like,
It's
and
soul crushing every year, man.
once you connect with a team and just a brand and who you love, like it's hard to get away from. And I think that just kind of happened for me, and that's kind of what was crazy about going to Radford. I was 20 minutes away from Virginia Tech, the school I grew up wanted to go to, and I was there every weekend, and like so it was just a great fit. But I think the sports is just in my identity. It's what I love, and like it's kind of like I like honestly seeing perspectives of different athletes and different players, and like what I can apply to my game for me or even as a coach, because you can learn so much just from watching other players do their thing.
No, I want to build on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about some players that whether it was players when you were younger growing up or even players that you look at right now. And 100% when you're watching players, like we ask this question to most athletes we interview, like we all got an individual tool bag, strengths and weaknesses that we have in our game. But when we watch highlights and we watch certain individuals at the highest level, we take parts of their bag and we try to incorporate it into ours. Who are those players for you?
Yeah, I think a big player right now, he had a bunch of success this year, but was Christian McCaffrey. Like his injury history,
Yeah.
he just like it opened my eyes. I started watching a lot of things about him, and just I think honestly, Ruck can attest to we kind of have a lot of similarities in stature and size and the way we train, and he's just so full. Like, I had this problem when I was in college at first. Like, I would work out every day. I was like, I'm going to outwork you no matter what. And I think that's kind of what led to some of McCaffrey's injuries too. So you have to get smarter and train and just be smarter the way you train and prioritize recovery. And I think,
Yep.
that's the biggest thing with how he's training now and like watching his game evolutionize even more this year. Like, I mean, he's one of the best backs in the world. I mean, and
100%. Dude's
and I just
filthy.
think, like, the way he trains prepares him for that every day, and the way he's been able to come back from injuries, like
Yep.
that's one of the guys like I've really really liked watching. Like my parents like love watching him because the story connects with kind of the mine in a way. So that's really been my guy a lot lately. That is not a non baseball guy. So yeah, I just think his story, just his ability to keep persevering and coming back and getting better. Like it's hard. What's really hard to do is to get better while recovering and
Hmm.
dealing with injuries. That's really hard to do.
That's awesome. We've never had a player comp or somebody that you like in another sport. So that's
Yeah,
awesome intel
no,
there.
that's
But you
awesome.
talked about the straight training, the regimens there, kind of something that I want to dive into. You said 150 pounds soaking wet when you got out of high school, and now where you're at now, your physical stature is one of your best tools that you have on a baseball field and recovering, catching the innings, the amount of mobility, the different type of stuff that you do just really hit home for these younger athletes and the youth of why strength training is so prevalent, and it has to be a mainstay in your routine regardless of the sport and really your life just for overall positive well-being.
Yeah, 100%. I would say this is something you can learn too from me is that I think I did it wrong in a way when I first came out, when I first got into college. And I don't think it's even because of the junior college way. I just think that what I was told from a lot of when being recruited in high school was like you got to gain weight, like your size, like your height, like maybe I'm 5'9", maybe you know what I mean. And being 150 when you graduate high school, yeah, I was defensive oriented and I could catch at any level, but the hitting is what it really like. It was hard to do with that weight, and that's why I needed the weight for sure. But so diving into it, I would work out like I would lift 2 times a day and I would train too. Like, and I would eat like 6 to 7 times a day. Like, I would meal prep completely. And that's when I really started putting on the most weight. I got to around like 180, 185 at the end of my first year of junior college and just kind of kept it on. By the time I was at Radford, I was like 205. And but that's when I really learned is like for my height and my weight and my position as a catcher, like it was just too much. Like I got to a point where I was like too strong, if that makes sense, and I made it harder for me to be able to recover and do what I can now and like be available every day. Because at the level of college level and being a catcher, you have to be available. That's the biggest thing is being the availability. And can you recover the next day and be able to gruel through whatever the catching brings, So now I'm probably like more around the 188 to 193 range is kind of where I sit, which is great for me. But I think the biggest thing for anyone trying to get bigger, stronger, faster is first you have to prioritize eating because no matter what you can do in the weight room, whatever is just not going to matter unless you eat enough. And so that's the biggest thing for me was just you have to eat right, and then the things will come. But be smart about how you work. Don't overwork yourself. Recovery is important, man. And I had to learn that the hard way, but recovery is important.
Hey, and he had a really good role model. He talked about his pops. If you know anything about his dad or what he's built like, he makes Logan look small. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I know he does. And my mom,
Yeah,
she
yeah, she's in great
same
shape.
way. I mean, that's the
Yep.
way it is. So
100%. And when you have that support system and that background of people that understand what it takes to be healthy, understand what it takes to understand fitness, and not just the physical but the mental that comes with it, it definitely allows you to kind of follow the same path or at least have somewhat of an understanding on how to do it. So I want to ask you, you mentioned the word lifting, strength training, and you mentioned the word training. So you're talking about lifting, training. How do you mesh the two
Mhm.
without getting burnt out? Because I know a lot of athletes, especially at the younger level, man. Because now we see kids playing 50 games of travel ball. We see kids playing their high school seasons on top of it, and it's stuff that Gannon and myself and probably you did as well. But how do we incorporate lifting and training together on top of the games? Because this is I know I don't mean to cut you off or anything, but
no, you're good.
this is something that I've noticed heavy when it
Mhm.
comes to travel sports now. We are, how do I want to word this? We're
Saturated,
practicing.
bro. It's so saturated. Everything.
No, it is, but we're practicing one time for
Yeah.
4 games instead of practicing 4 times for one game. That's the flip switch of it all now is the preparation, the practice. We're not getting the fundamentals down when it comes to games, but we're more game oriented, game driven, and need to be more fundamentally sound, more practice driven. So touch on the importance of training, lifting, and how you incorporate it together.
Yeah, I think with some of the people like I work with that are at the high school level trying to get recruited for the college level is what I tell them is honestly is that like be honest with them if I think they're really ready yet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we want to go to these showcase level things. We want to get recruited obviously by the best, but like if you're not ready, you're not ready. Like why go
Yep.
and be in front of those college coaches and know you're not gonna I don't want to crush anyone's dreams, but I want to be honest with them. Like you need to practice, prepare, then worry about getting there. Don't go there get your dreams crushed and then be like, all right, this is what I got to do to get better. Like, let's just get better first. So I think that is the thing with like working with these younger athletes. Like they play all year round. And like,
Yep.
you know, I was kind of the same way, but it was like, I feel like I trained more than I play, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think the best thing is like, you have to establish a routine that allows you to get everything you need in your strength, your speed, your baseball in general. Like prioritize baseball. Baseball is number one. If that's what you're trying to play, like that's what you need to prioritize. And your lifting and your speed work need to be based off of that too. I mean, it's not. I mean, I did it. I was wrong with it, but you know, it's not. You're not getting anywhere by going in there and seeing ego lifting as heavy
Yep.
as you possibly can. Like it's just not going to work. You know, with swinging a bat, you're going to get tight, and it's just works against you. You know what happened to me, and like that's what I try to tell them. Like it could have be the cause why I had so many injuries. Why I mean, I was so strong at one point. It was like no wonder I tore my UCL. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it wasn't. I just think for guys like preparing yourself will get you ready for the college level. Like, you know, playing the high school season, like it's big, it's a big thing. But like, if you really want to play in college, you have to be ready for it. It's different when you get to college. No matter how good you are in college,
Mhm.
the guys in, you know, how good you are in high school, all the guys are going to be different. Like every level you rank up, the harder it gets. So I think preparation is key, and I think that's the biggest thing. What I try to implement is preparing myself every day to be prepared for what the game's gonna bring to me. You know what I mean? Like catching, if I go out and I'm not ready that day to catch, like why wasn't I? Was it because the day before I didn't prepare myself for that? That's kind of the way I see it, and I think it's the same way if you apply it in the travel ball spectrum. Like prepare yourself, make sure you're ready before you go out there in front of those eyes that you want to be seen by, and make sure you're ready to get that offer you're trying to get.
No, you
I think,
touched on
yeah,
something before you go again. I
yeah,
just want to say you touch on preparation, but you also you kind of said it indirectly, but transparency, right? And I
Hmm.
think that's something that in our day and age, the world, especially younger athletes, parents and athletes in itself, there's not a lot of transparency. There's a lot of, oh, you're going to be great at this. You can do whatever you want. You can do this, and I'm all for that. I'm all for doing whatever you want to do and reaching the highest peak you can in your career. But the more constructive criticism these athletes get at a younger age and hear that transparency, it's massive. And so you touching on that for younger athletes to understand that and know that they're not always as great as everyone tells them they are,
yeah.
and to get back in the lab and get working, that's major. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, 100%.
I just think it's being realistic with them. It's the same thing when you're
Yeah,
going to get into a job setting when you get older in life. You might not be qualified, you might not be ready for this, but what can you do in that
100%.
meantime to get you ready, just like you can on the field? I think the other thing he hit on too was like finding what works to recover and be good on the baseball field, because baseball is such a specific sport, and the training
Yeah.
regimens, especially when you get to the college game with fall ball for 2 months, the season for 4 months, and then summer ball for 2 months. I mean, you're playing almost 10 months out of the season if you're playing in all the different opportunities you can. It's more so about maintenance. Like Logan said, you get to a point where you're
Mm-hmm.
too strong. Being too strong is now a recipe for success with baseball at
Hmm.
all. It's more so how you can move, how your
And
body
people
is. And
don't get that.
no,
People
Yeah,
and
don't
that's the
I know.
understand
biggest
that.
thing. And that's what I tell these younger guys that I work with too. It's like, hey, go do your research. Go find somebody. Go find a podcast. Go find these people that are training these professionals that are doing baseball specific lifts and training. It's not even lifts. Like I don't even like to call it lifts anymore, because it's really just training sessions. It's full body stuff. It's multiple things at once. It's supersetting. All those things are more that makes you dynamic at a baseball field. But I want to
Yeah.
transition to another thing. You've been voted team captain. You're undoubtedly the captain here at Keiser right now. Like, I just wanted to speak to that, of why you think you have been in that position and why you've been such a good fit, because I know what it is. I see that you're one of the hardest workers I've ever been on a baseball field with. I understand it. People who've been around you understand it, but just let everybody know.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I hate to hit on it so many times, but I think the adversity that I've been through has prepared me to like lead people in a way, because
Mm,
I think what I've been through is not ideal for anyone, and I don't wish it on anyone. But I think like, you know, I think there's things that like all my recovery, all those battles I face, I can really teach people through it in a way. So I think I just kind of, you know, I'm blessed to be in the positions where I am and be those team captains, but I think it just kind of falls in my lap, you know, being the catcher, being able to just to be there and be available every day. Like every day is not going to be a great day, but for me, it is right now. I'm able to play. You know, I've been to so many days where I'm
mm,
like, man, like I got to go to this recovery session. I mean, I was just trying to be able to throw. That was a great day for me to throw again. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Going through injuries and adversity, just seeing so many different ways of life, being in so many different parts of the country, and just being around so many different people, like it's just I think I connect with people different in a way, if that makes sense, just because my background's diverse, and I don't want to be someone that's just like this is the highway. I want to learn from people, and I want to be able to just because I know I don't know everything. I mean, my if I knew everything, I'd already be in pro ball already, and I'm not. So so that's the thing, and I think that role just kind of falls in my lap, but I think a lot of it for me, in my eyes, it's just because of the adversity I've been through and just being able to be there every day and just have an impact. Like as a catcher, you're going to have an impact, but I think it just more than just a baseball field. And, that's what I really enjoy, just being able to have an impact on their lives more than just baseball.
100%.
I kind of want to hit on before Bryce gets going. It's just also, I think some of this too was your upbringing. I think you went to one of the largest schools, if I'm not mistaken, in Tennessee.
Right.
Being in Kingsport, like you make it seem like small, but it is big. And where that is, there's a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different cultures that you were immersed with. Because that's something that we're very similar with, just being able to handle different people from different walks of life. And I think that's a asset. Just kind of talk about that and how thankful you are having that growing up, and it's kind of helped you where you are.
Yeah, man. I'm so thankful to be from Kingsport. That's the biggest thing is I try not to forget where I'm from, where my roots are, because it is also what shaped me. Obviously, my injuries have shaped a lot of who I became, but that was the backbone and where it came from, the roots, and that community is just it's a sports loving community. That Dobyns-Bennett athletics is that's what that city really rallies around. And yeah, I mean, obviously we look at it as smaller. It's not necessarily small, but when we're there, we feel like it's so small.
Yeah.
I mean, now that I'm being in West Palm Beach, Florida, it looks so much smaller. But it just prepares. That city just prepared me for so many things. Just because the people you meet and they're just from a lot of those people that end up being there, they stay there, but it's because it's such a great city. And, I fell in love with the city more after I left. And I think that happens a lot because you just get back to your roots and you're like, this is why I enjoyed it so much when I was there. And I understand why I wanted to leave, but this is why maybe that city's the right place for me. You're like, it shaped me. So like, this is why I love it so much. And yeah, I think that city it's so oriented in sports, but it has a good niche of people.
100%. And Gannon and I are two people, the reason we started this podcast, or part of the reason, was to be ingrained within our community, whether we're here or not. Obviously, Gannon being away, I currently am still in the hometown that we grew up in, and trying our best to bring a more positive light towards our community. So for everyone to understand, to not forget where you come from is huge. And you could live thousands of miles away. It doesn't matter, but to never forget that is important. But one thing you mentioned, you've talked a lot about learning. You've talked about a lot about preparation. And I like that because the only way we can learn in life, and especially in sports, is through experience. And through your injury history, that was your experience. But we've talked so much about the low end of it with the injuries and fighting through adversity. Tell me about your favorite high moment, your favorite memory. It could be high school ranks, younger ranks, college, anything. I just want to hear about the greatness.
Yeah, one of the things I look back on, I still watch videos of it all the time, is when we went to state my senior year. Because so just kind of put it in perspective, Kingsport is a huge, huge baseball community, but it hadn't been to state in so many years and I haven't won it since like 1954. And I don't know if that's correct, but I'm pretty sure it's something like that. And my senior year, we didn't win. We went to state semis. We lost like in the game to the team that won the state championship, but nobody in that history of that school had went that far in the past like 21 years. And it was guys that I grew up with, that I played with. It was just senior heavy, but it was just a memory that I'll never forget because it just kind of shaped. I think it had a lot to do with like where I am now, because that it was just, I don't know, you know how it is in high school. Like it's just, you want to make the state tournament, you want to win a state championship. But for me and for us as a team, like it was for that city. Like we wanted to do something bigger than ourselves. And like, that's really why I love that memory so much. All my memories in college have been great, obviously. But that memory will always stick out to me.
No, I feel you on that. My team in high school, we were 6 outs away from going to state. We were up, I believe
Twice,
it was
right? Didn't you
two times.
Two supers?
Yeah, we lost two super sectional games. The second one was, I mean, throughout the game we kind of I wouldn't say we had the feel we were going to lose it, but it wasn't nearly as close, and we never had the lead. But my sophomore year, we were up 3-1, 3-1 with 6 outs to go in the
Remember that.
field.
Damn.
Ground ball between shortstop's leg, pass ball, run comes in, and it's just. But I do agree with you 100% because when you're in that moment, uh, it's hard to explain it. But dude, just having people from your community, and even for me, where I grew up, I went to a smaller high school in the same hometown as Gannon, but to see the smaller areas, to see people from Gannon's high school come out and support us in that moment because we all came together as one big community. It was crucial. Obviously, couldn't get it done, but it was crucial.
Yeah, no doubt. Sticks out.
And Bryce, he might not want to let you know. Bryce could hit a few homers back in the day. He run into a few baseballs. Finding a position on the field, if you know Keiser baseball, I'd say it's Comps Kenny DiClemente. Logan knows who.
There you go. Okay.
Dude, I'm telling you, hold on. Before you go, I just want to explain when it comes to playing defensive ball, when it comes to me getting on the field, I'll play the outfield. I'll rock with that. But you put me in the infield, man. I don't.
You can hide him in a corner outfield spot.
You put me out there, and I can unleash the arm out there and feel comfortable doing it and feel confident doing it. Or you put me, dude, I'm telling you, put me at third base, and all of a sudden I'm George. What's his name? What's the Lester dude from the Cubs? Why am I drawing a blank?
John Lester.
I'm John Lester. All of a sudden, like wanted to take my glove and run it over there, but I could play first base. I was nice at first.
You just hit.
Go ahead.
That's what.
Yeah, no, I can hit the ball. I could hit the ball.
We've hit so many different avenues, but I think this is one we've never really hit on before, and it's your relationship with your girlfriend, Hannah. I think it's a really interesting dynamic here. I think we just had a comment, something about this when we were out to eat this weekend. Like, the reason why you have a girlfriend in such a healthy working relationship is because she's a Division I athlete. She's a softball player. She puts God first. Like, you guys have so many similarities in your life, but it clicks that way. I want you to hit on that because there's people out here, younger athletes, if they're going through relationship stuff, good or bad, like just hit on that and why it works so well for you too.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to put it is a lot of my friends put in perspective is that she's the female version of me, so it does work out really well. She's so competitive. She wants to beat me at everything, but she's one of those that like I really honestly like you don't a lot of men don't want to listen to women, but when it comes to the sport, like I'll really listen to her opinion because she really knows the game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's really what drew me in a lot. Like, it was obviously more than just that, but there were so many things. But you think when you have someone that you can relate to and they can understand what you're going through as an athlete, and like you be able to ask them questions they understand, and they can give you that feedback that you've never heard before from the opposite gender, like it's different, man. It hits you different because. And I think just for us, like, whenever we can, it's been long distance the whole time we've been together. But when we're together, we're on the same regimen. We're going to lift together. We're going to hit together. We're going to make sure we get everything done.
Awesome.
And then we're going to be able to go on our date or whatever because our goals align, our perspective aligns. Like, we're only going to be able to play the game we want to play for so long. Maybe she can't play at the professional level. Maybe I can just because of how softball is. But she wants to play at the highest level she can while she can. So I'm going to push her to do that. She's going to push me to do what I want to do. And it makes it work because our goals align and, then life will align out once the games are over.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, Gannon, because it is an angle we've never taken before. And I think for younger people that do tap into this one, understand that even if it's not a relationship with a boyfriend, girlfriend, having those type of people in your life, whether it's friends, family members, you have to have those people that maybe not necessarily have the same version of goals or them being properly aligned all the time, but people that push you, people that want you to succeed, people that don't want you to remain stagnant in life. Those are the people you have to surround yourself with because those are also the people that celebrate the small wins with you and continue to help get you to the big wins. But the last question I kind of want to ask you, and I'll let Gannon go if he's got anything else. You've thrown out little bits and pieces of advice throughout this episode, but what is one piece of advice maybe you haven't touched on that you would give to a younger athlete or maybe even just a younger version of yourself?
Yeah, I think me and Ruck talk about this a lot, but I think the biggest thing is this is what I try to do every day is just be where your feet are. Can you hear me? There we go.
Yeah.
Be where your feet are. You're where you are for a reason, and I think it's much bigger than what you realize, and it's because you were put there by someone that's much bigger than us, and That's what you're supposed to do, is be where that you are and be able to make the best out of whatever it is. That's the biggest thing for me, is just, you know, whatever you're trying to do, your goals, everything. If you be where you are and you be present in those moments, your goals will come to fruition. But in order to do that, you have to find a way to get better each day, learn from the negatives, whatever it is. But the only way to do that is to be where your feet are. So,
Yeah, I think the last thing we hit on, we like to always get most of our guests here, just kind of talk about your overall experience on the show. If you have any updates for us, kind of any feedback, just kind of your overall experience, just kind of give us a little rating.
yeah, man, I think it's awesome. I haven't really been able to, obviously through our classes, Ruck, we've been able to tell the story, but it's great to be able to tell the story just because, it's smaller school athletes that a lot of people aren't going to hear a lot of the negative journeys that you've been through and like why you're at where you are. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just being a platform for the smaller school athletes that have the stories and they can explain, it's not all roses and rainbows, you know what I mean? So that's the
Mm-hmm.
great thing I think what you all do, is just you hit every perspective of the athletes, like, because I was at the Division 1 level, like, I have had professional interests, but I'm also where I am at the NAI level now, so that's the cool thing, I think.
No, and I just want to say I appreciate you taking the time out of your night too. And people won't understand it. We had some technical difficulties getting things operated tonight. People won't hear about it, won't know about it. But uh, Logan was willing to work through that, work through the kinks to get this episode in. So I appreciate him for that. It says a lot about his character, who he is as a person. And I wish you the best, both on and off the field, continued success, all that. I can already tell you're wise beyond your years and have a great head on your shoulders and understanding of who you are and who you want to become. So I'm thankful for that, and I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. Appreciate you to be able to meet you too, even though it's virtually.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one thing, just to carry on
Mm-hmm.
quickly. It's something Gannon and I talk about, is like the ability just to connect. Like, and I think COVID kind of brought that out within us, the understanding of
Mhm.
like maybe we can't link up in person all the time, but the ability to connect with someone who's thousands of miles away, meet them for one night, chop it up, and it establishes a relationship for years to come. And now I get to follow your career, see where you end up, and just be another backbone, another support system for you. And that's what excites me most about being able to chop it up with athletes.
Yeah, 100%, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I think just to wrap this one up, I mean, obviously it's been awesome to just hear your journey and everything, but you're a motivator for me every single day. I think we kind of push each other with our grad school stuff,
Hmm.
just working so closely together. But I really appreciate your friendship just kind of over this last 8 months. Like, it's really helped a lot, just the different things that we both talked and gone through from our prior experiences. We share a lot of similar interests, but it's cool to see you get on here, kind of tell your story, let everybody else kind of know kind of what you're all about, man. But just it's going to be fun the rest of the spring we got going together, and then senior professional
Hmm.
outlook after this. Regardless if it's playing, coaching, whatever it is, you're going to be at a high level the rest of your life, man. It's just fun to know you, brother. So this is a good one.
100%. I appreciate you, Rock.
We hope you guys appreciated this one. Tap in. There's plenty of positive insight within this episode that you can take away. And I think the biggest thing to understand is that everyone can learn something from everyone in this life, no matter what rank you're at in the college level, no matter where you work in the workforce. We can learn from each other. So I hope you learned that key message in this episode, and we will see you next time.